Good morning, everybody. Well, I got some stuff over here, and we're going to be starting another project, but I'm going to try not to get into too much detail because it takes too much video time and so forth. The project I'm going to be doing now and starting on it now is Motorizing Uncle Dorkel. So let me show you what the stuff is that I acquired so far to this date. All right, went to the dollar store last week and picked up one of these clothesline pulleys. And I took one out, I took one apart I should say, and made up this arrangement. This is the bottom cap of a 1-inch outside diameter PVC pipe. The same material that Dorkel's headstock is made out of. And I simply drilled a hole in the dead center of this and used the same bolt and nut that was on here, because here's the rest of the thing I took apart. And I'm going to fasten that instead of the little rubber band part, I'll show you that later, that I got on the bottom of the headstick. This is going on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bolt out and I'm going to use this one because it's longer. This way I can go right down to the base, because the stick has got to be solid, because when this pulley is on there, it's going to be pulling on the headstick. So Dorkel's head, unfortunately, isn't going to go side to side in a comic effect. If you've been watching those videos, he's not going to be able to do that anymore. He's not going to be able to shake his head from side to side. But he'll be able to turn it by way of motors, and I'm going to show you what the motors are that I've got right here now. And I got one more coming from Science Surplus. Should be in next week. I'll show you what I have, though. All right. What I have so far is a 2 RPM motor from eBay, and it's got, I think, a 1/4-inch shaft on it. Now it's too slow for the head. I was going to use that for the eyes, and it may not be strong enough to turn the head. This here is a 40 RPM motor. I just marked it so I would know, that I got from the Science Surplus. This one I got from eBay. This is in Science Surplus. But I got a right angle gear motor coming from Science Surplus next week, and that is going to be used to turn the head by way of this. And that's 150 RPM, but it's going to be geared down, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a homemade pulley using a 1/4-inch bolt and some fender washers. And we're going to put in the center of that, before we put the nuts on, some of this Tygon tubing, and it will be used as a bushing, sort of. It'll be tight on the bolt, so that'll be the small pulley that was going to go on the drill motor. I was going to use one of my drills, my battery drills, but if this 150 RPM right angle gear motor works out, it's going to be used on that. I'll couple that with a union, some kind of a union splice or something, to go from this to the shaft of the, this is not going to be the motor, but I'm just showing you, to like that. So it will drive this, so the ratio is going to be substantial. So 150 RPMs is going to really turn this head probably pretty slow here, because it's going to be a small radius at this point and a larger radius at this point. All right, I've had Dorkel stored in the corner of the bedroom, and his shirt is all damp. He's very damp, and we don't have a leak in the house. We got the dehumidifier running, but that's running in the front room. Well, I don't know. All right, I showed you this. This is what we're going to do. That's why I screw these things in. There's 2 screws in this thing, one on the other side. What I'm going to do is not glued. I'm just going to take this off and put this on the bottom. And then the motor will sit over here, the pulley arrangement, and it'll over here or here, whichever is easier. and will operate the head, but it won't have this business anymore. So he won't be able to do his cute little jiggle routine. But that's what we're going to do here. So this is the eye control here. And we're going to work on that because I can't do the head motor until that comes in. So, and then we got this solenoid, which is going to be used. Here's the mouth ring right here. That's going to pull, but you know, I'm going to have to do something to get this to move easier. But we'll worry about one thing at a time. And when all this is done, this will not be controlled by my hands anymore. It'll be all done by motor and solenoid. We got some 1/8 inch inside diameter copper tubing. I crimped it over the flat shaft of the motor and had to cut off and put a longer piece in here, which means the back of his head's probably going to have to be changed. I may not be able to use this cover, but I'm not positive yet. I got the motor just laying in here right now, and the motor goes around and the eyes turn perfectly. It just keeps going around. I can reverse it, the direction. No problem there. So we'll try to demonstrate this here if I can hold the camera and do this at the same time. Now this is a 12-volt motor, but we're running it on 6. Isn't that neat? Don't need 12 volts on this. We can run this on 6. Not that bad. Not great, because it doesn't give me the swing I really want, but it's not bad. Now naturally when I operate this, I can just hit like this, you know, with the button that I'm going to have on it, so that the eyes are moving just a little bit. But I can reverse it, but because I'm going to be operating the remote controls, unless I'm looking right at the face, I'm not going to be able to tell where the eyes are. You can't have everything. So we tried to do it from the head stick down here, but it wouldn't work. So we unhooked this. They were just screwed in. There's no PVC cement or anything holding these together. These were just screwed in. So I took out the 1/8 inch brazing rod, which is this stuff right here. I bought another one, only $1. And we're going to run the wires down through here for the motor. If I can't do that, we'll just go through the back of the neck. We'll have to do that. We'll make a cut in here and we'll run the wires down and through down here. But I think if I drill this hole out in here, there's a hole inside here. If I take and drill that out a little bigger, I should be able to do that. That hole is only big enough for the brazing rod to go through for the turning the eyes. But we'll make it big enough so we can get 2 wires down there for the motor, because everything's going to be run on the outside of the body. I will no longer have to put my hands behind here to operate it. So that's all we're going to do for today. My battery's crapping out. So that's all we're going to do for today. I've been working on this for a couple of hours now, and we have other issues here that we're taking care of at the house. So we're going to come back on the video sooner than you think. Alright, this is the next day now. I made this thing longer. I had to take this out and make this longer, so it'll get the throw from this crank here that I made up out of the 1/8 inch inside diameter copper tubing. But that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was making this up. This is going to hold the motor. I had to notch out for this nut here, and I had to make up the motor holder. It's going to go in like that, but I also had to cut out some of this wood, and of course I couldn't get a saw in there, so I had to use whatever I can get, my bolt cutters or whatever, and nippers, to get in there and chop the wood out, because the motor just fits in there like that. But with this in there, no. So here's how this is going to work. The motor slips in like this. I took and bent it all around so that all I got to do is wrap tape around the motor to hold it in. The wires will come down and go through the stick hole, and at the other end I got to enlarge that hole so I can get the wires down in there. Now this thing will work. I measured it several times, and I can adjust this if I need to, but I'm going to try to get this the first time around. So all I got to do is just put 2 wood screws in these pre-drilled holes to hold this thing in there after I secure the motor to this. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, for easy removal and adjustment, I've just taped it around here. And now I got to get this thing centered in here. So I'm going to put the camera down and we'll do that, and we'll come back on the video in a minute. Okay, we got it screwed into place here. Let's see if we can get this going here. Looks good. It may not swing all the way to the left and right, but it does okay. Alright, after lots of work, re-drilling, a new mount to hold the back on. This is longer, so I either had to cut a hole in here and make a bump on the back of his head, or I'm going to redo this back, so I'm going to bend it out a little bit like this, so it's sticking out over here. I'm going to make damn sure everything works good in here, and then I'm going to putty all this shut. In other words, he'd need a major operation if he's going to have any replacement stuff done in here. But I moved this back a little, put a little white grease on there, and the motor's mounted, and she's working just fine. Alright, that's all I'm going to do today. We got the wires run down through the neck to operate the motor here for the eyes. We're just going to close her up. We got a lot of cosmetic work to do here. And the rubber for his Adam's apple disintegrated. I don't know if you can see that. So we're going to have to do some work there too, I suppose.